Good morning, hello, or I guess good afternoon, good day, good evening, depends on when you're listening to this or watching this, but it is June 29th, so I've been here living in Fairbanks for a little over 4 months, and I wanted to share with you 4 things that I've learned since living here for 4 months. But honestly, I thought of a 5th thing while driving over here, so there's gonna be a bonus one at the end. Keep watching if you wanna hear that. Hi, this is Samara from the future, or I guess the present. I don't really know. Regardless, it's October 28th today, and it is, oh my gosh, it's October 29th. So I've actually been here for 8 months, and I think it would be appropriate to add some commentary on what I said back then and how my opinion has changed, or what I think needs to be added to that list of 4 things I've learned. So really you're getting a pretty hefty list of things that I've learned since being here in Fairbanks for a total of 8.5-ish months. Okay, let's watch this video. The first is that the cold is not really that bad. It is, sub-zero temperatures are pretty intense, like -40 is pretty intense, but you just wear the right layers and keep layering up the colder it gets. And there's a joke that people say, or saying that folks say around here, which actually I agree with. It's like everything feels the same. Cold feels cold after a certain temperature, let's say like -5, -10. It's just your body hurts faster the colder it is. So when it's -20, you can hang around and move around and not really feel painful as quickly as when it's -40, especially if you're not wearing the right layers. And it can get pretty dangerous if you're not wearing gloves. You try to like open up a door or something. So it is pretty intense, but it's not that intense if you have all the right clothes. Okay, so another thing I'll add in here is, yes, layering up is very important, but also that the cold is really relative and that your body adjusts to whatever it's around. So like in the summertime, it gets pretty warm, like 80s, some days are 90s, typically it's like 70s or whatever. But then as it starts dipping down into like 40s, everyone's putting on their coats, and 40 degrees then feels cold comparative to what the temperature just was. And then the same happens on the other end, like when we're going through a lot of, sub-zero temps. I'm speaking in Fahrenheit, I'm not going to do the Celsius conversion, but sub-zero Fahrenheit temps. And then all of a sudden you get like a 20-degree day, then it's feeling really warm. And I might touch on that here about how I noticed that, but I would say that's like the biggest adjustment I would add to that is that the cold is just relative, to what you're experiencing more regularly. More on the temperature stuff. The cold isn't that bad. Your body adapts pretty quickly. I remember that it was sub-zero temps for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it jumped up to like 20 degrees was the high, and I was driving around with my windows down because it felt so warm. And the sun feels closer and more intense, so when it's sunny out and there's snow everywhere and everything, it feels warmer. But the second a cloud covers the sun, you're pretty chilly again. So it's super interesting. Layers really help a lot. No, it's not that bad. Yes, your body adapts. Yes, it's also very expensive. The second thing that I learned is that traveling is just different here. The positive about traveling here is that it's just wide open roads, far less people, hardly any traffic, especially in Fairbanks. You can get from one side of the town to the other within like 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. Traffic is like having to wait at a red light instead of just driving straight on through. At least that's how I feel. Coming from Phoenix, where there was real serious traffic, this is just a walk in the park. Walk in the park. And then once you leave town, you could drive for hours and not see another vehicle in certain spots, or maybe like 1 or 2 other vehicles, but it's hardly anyone. You can really feel out and alone. The negatives list is quite a bit longer. The first negative, or I guess it depends if you like driving or not, but the first negative is that you're gonna drive a lot and far, especially if you like doing things outside, like hiking, camping, whatever, or just exploring the outdoors. I would consider a 3 to 4 hour drive one way long enough for a day trip. And I've actually done that a few times, where I've driven out somewhere, hiked around for a little bit, and then drove back. Yes, I spent way more time driving than actually hiking around, but it's just how it is here. You just gotta drive pretty far to get places. Remember, Alaska is 2.5 times larger than Texas, and Texas is pretty dang big, so it's just perspective. You're going to be driving a lot. And I mean, half of the state you can't even drive to. Okay, I digress. Moving on.
Okay. I'll jump in here and add 2 extra comments about driving. So let me clarify what I just said about driving to outdoor activities. It's not necessary to go that far from Fairbanks to do outdoor activities. However, if you want to go to like mountainous terrain or anything like that, then yes, it will take at least 2 hours to drive to the closest mountains. Fairbanks has a lot of hills, like rolling hills, and the White Mountains are available, but you're still driving at least like, I don't know, an hour and a half or so to those. And then, like 2.5 hours south, you could get to like the Alaska range. So anyway, you don't necessarily have to drive that far to do outdoor activities. I just really like to get out there and explore a lot of different places. So I chose to drive those distances, and it just felt normal because it's such a vast state and there's so much to see that those distances that you're going to travel are going to be a lot further. So I don't think it's necessary to go that far. For mountains, yes, it is, but I just was choosing to do that. So that's the first thing that I'll add there. A little clarification on what I just said. And then another thing about driving is winter driving. What can I even say about winter driving? Winter driving is also a challenge in traveling in Alaska, and winter driving is a significant part of the year from I would say October until April. Yeah. Maybe even May. We got some snow in May and people didn't know how to drive then either. So those are 2 things that I'll add there.
Flying. Flying is a whole other animal. It's just getting out of here, getting out of Fairbanks is you're gonna be having.
Okay. I'm so great at speaking.
Connecting flights. You're gonna have a red-eye flight. You're gonna be spending at least a day and a half maybe. And I mean a day, like 10, 15 hours for traveling. So if you're trying to be somewhere by a certain point, you may have to travel the night before. Actually, I have done that plenty of times where I leave at like 3 p.m. to arrive somewhere over on the East Coast by 8 a.m., right? It's just, that's the nature of the beast. This is what it is. Time zones and things do help when you travel back, but traveling anywhere, you have to account for the fact that you're gonna need to spend so much time traveling. I mean, it's fine. I don't really mind. It's just a whole extra thing to deal with. And it's expensive as heck.
Okay, so I'll jump in here. Yes, flights. Definitely, there are added challenges when trying to fly out of Fairbanks. Thankfully, there is a major airport that flies, here, and I don't have to drive all the way to Anchorage to get to an airport. I will say that in the summertime, there are more direct flights down to the lower 48 or down to like the rest of the United States, minus Hawaii, of course. And those options that I've seen and have actually flown were from Fairbanks direct to Seattle, direct to Denver, direct to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and direct to Chicago. However, in the winter time, 3 of those go away, and the only direct flight down to the lower 48 is Seattle. And then I think Anchorage obviously has more options, but most of my flights tend to connect out of Seattle. And flying back, usually what I try to do is try to make it to Seattle, just because I know that there's so many flights going back and forth between Fairbanks and Seattle versus like those other flights that I mentioned in the summer. If you have an issue with your connection and you're going to miss that flight to, let's say, Chicago, well, there's only one flight flying from Chicago to Fairbanks. So then if you miss that, then you have to wait a whole extra day. And that's happened before, where I had to change a bunch of flights around and missed a connection. Yeah, it was actually, I mean, this doesn't matter, but I've had issues before, and so now I've changed my behavior and make sure at least returning, I connect through Seattle, just because there's so many different options. And if you miss one or something happens with all these connections that you have to make, at least you have ample opportunity to make it back.
Third thing that I've learned since living in Fairbanks, or that I've recognized since living in Fairbanks, is that the people are freaking awesome. I love it. The community is so great. You could share about like places I've shopped at or businesses that I go to, and then someone I'm speaking is like, oh yeah, I know so and so, like we're friends, or we went to school together, I know them. Like it's just so fun. Everybody knows everyone, and everyone's super friendly, but also not too friendly. They can recognize when to like leave you alone or give you some space, so you get the best of both worlds. I actually have a funny story. A few weeks ago, I don't remember if it was May or early June, I was hiking along Mastodon, I always say it incorrectly, Mastodon, pronunciation is just not the best. If you watch any of these videos, you know that. Mastodon Creek Trail. I was just hiking a little bit and I saw a woman riding on her bike, and she stops and she's talking to me because I have my hula hoops with me, and they definitely do attract people and attract conversation. So I wasn't too surprised by that. And we start chatting a bit, and as she starts taking off, she's like, "Oh, my husband's behind me. Can you?" Oh, bug bite. Ow, that hurt. They're flying all around, and I forgot bug spray. Ow. Anyway, I ran into this lady, and as she's getting ready to ride away on her bike, she says to me like, "Oh, my husband's a bit a ways behind me. Can you tell him that I'm gonna keep riding and that he can just pick me up in the vehicle?" I was like, "Sure, I can do that. It's fine." So I keep hiking, and it's like maybe 10, 15 minutes later, like he was way behind her. I see the man and we chat a little bit. He's like, "Oh, I'm looking for my wife." And then he takes a picture with the hula hoops. I tell him, "Yeah, I've seen your wife, and she told me to tell you she's gonna keep riding and, you know, just pick her up with the vehicle." And he's like, "Okay." And so then he drives along, and then I'm by myself again. And it's just funny because where else would that happen? We don't have cell service out here anywhere really, so that's probably why. It's like, how else would he know to do that unless he just kept driving? So it's just funny that she trusted me to go tell him that. And another thing about that lady, I hike, you know, I'm out there for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and I get back in my car and I'm driving away, and man, she must have really been feeling it because she was still going on that bike. And we were at like mile 37 on this road, and the town is probably like 40 miles away, and so I saw her by like mile like 8 or 7, and she was still doing it, still going. Super funny people, I swear.
So I'll sneak in here and say that, yes, the people here are great. They also will leave you alone if you want to be left alone, but they're really willing to talk and be friendly with you if that's what you want to. So pretty get the best of both worlds in that way. I will say, though, that the dating scene seems a little choosy, a little weird. I am not actively dating right now. Obviously, I'm in a relationship, so this is like secondhand information, but from what I hear from different coworkers and friends is that it's interesting. So if you are moving up here single, as a lady, you will probably have a large selection of available men, but they might be just interesting men. And then if you're a single dude looking for a gal, I'm sure there's normal gals out there. Just the experiences my coworkers have had have just proven otherwise. So take that as you will. And if you're looking for, you know, same sex or whatever, I have absolutely no knowledge of that. I'm sure there's opportunity out there. I just, you know, I haven't heard anything directly about that. So sorry.
The fourth and final before the bonus thing that I learned is that shopping for things can be super difficult. Prior to living up here, I completely stopped using Amazon. I was just, you know, trying to shop more like local, or
I was pretty proud of that too. I went a full year not shopping with Amazon. I like refused to do it, and moving up here, that has since melted away, as I explain.
Use different avenues of getting what I want instead of always the big box stores, and that's just not a possibility up here. I'm back to using Amazon. I have to shop at Walmart. Fred Meyer's is like a fancy Fred Meyer's. It has it's like a Target here, right? Like you could go to Walmart, you could go to Fred Meyer's, you get the elevated option, or you could get like the basic stuff. Costco, I'm now a Costco member. You just have to up here. It's minimal options. And same with trying to get exactly what you want and furnish your place exactly how you want. You just don't really have that option here. Lots of places online places don't even ship up here. So it's been a struggle trying to furnish. And I would recommend, if you are moving up here, to get those big ticket items down in the lower 48 and ship them up. Like, you just have a better opportunity of getting exactly what you want and having it actually make it here. I just didn't have the foresight to do that, and now I'm stuck slowly collecting furniture that I actually like.
Yes. So I will clarify that comment as well. If you are particular about furnishing your place, then just get what you want, like the bigger items down there. If you are not very particular, well, then since there is so many people, or there are so many people that are coming and going, there is opportunity to buy secondhand stuff. You just might not get exactly what you're looking for. So that's the only thing I'll say there is you don't necessarily need to bring everything up here with you. But if you're very particular about stuff, then yes, consider that and the cost of that, because getting exactly what you want up here is, maybe you could find it in Anchorage and like have it shipped up there, or like get a U-Haul or something. I just didn't explore that option, so there probably are other options. I just felt that moving in the wintertime, doing something like that, like buying something in Anchorage and then driving up with it, wouldn't be available until like maybe May or June. Probably sooner than that. That's a little dramatic. Maybe like April. And yeah, maybe I should have considered that. Okay, I take that back. There are other options. You don't necessarily need to bring it all up from the lower 48. It's just not every online store ships to Alaska, or if they do, it costs an arm and a leg. Like my bed frame for my new bed. It was, I don't know, more to ship than the actual cost of the item. The item was a couple $100 and it was double that to have it shipped here. So just consider that if you're a particular person, as I am.
The fifth thing that I thought about while driving here is just Fairbanks is so ridiculous. The weather is so interesting, how you can go from everything being frozen and the crispy, crunchy snow underneath your boots to super lovely sunny days and nights because the sun hardly sets and it's super warm and the sun is super intense. And I feel like it got up to mid 80s a couple weeks ago, and now that there's fires, it's smoky and it looks apocalyptic. And I'm driving down the same road that I drove down in February, and then the same one in April when it was during breakup, and then during late May when it was beautiful weather, and now where it's just smoky. And I'm like, man, I just feel like I lived a million lives. That's how 4 months just passed by so quickly, because the environment has shifted so much that it feels a lot longer than what it really was.
Yes. Yes. I will say that has continued even into October. Fall is probably my favorite season here in Fairbanks, especially with all of the birch trees and everything and all the colors, and just like the undergrowth too has different colors that'll change, and the Arctic is pretty even without, the deciduous trees. It's just all lovely. Oh, hello. I guess my cat has decided to join. Say hello to Ume. Wow, so pretty. Okay, so yes, it's been beautiful. It's great. Alaska in general is beautiful. It's great. Really, really like it.
I'm enjoying my time here a lot. I absolutely love it. I'm excited for the next 8 months to make it a full year, and then the next few years after that, however long I end up staying here. And I hope that you found this interesting, especially if you're moving up here, whether you're PCSing because of the government, or the military, which is a lot of folks here, or you were interested about moving to Alaska. Here are just 5 interesting things that I found since living here. Okay. Now I'm gonna get back into my car because I'm getting eaten alive. Yeah, that's number 6. The mosquitoes are crazy. I forgot bug spray, and that was a huge mistake.
Yes. The number 6 thing is definitely the mosquitoes. Far worse here than anywhere I've ever lived. And again, it's another thing that's relative and comparative, right? So at first I thought when the mosquitoes were coming out in Fairbanks that they were bad, and then I took a trip up to the Arctic, like Galbraith Lake area, and they were worse than anything I've ever seen. Then Riley and I went camping in July off of Denali Highway, but we were still like the Arctic site. We weren't really in the trees yet. Insane amount of mosquitoes. And then by the time I get back to Fairbanks, I'm like, this isn't that bad. Off of where I was in that video though, Chena Hot Springs, like where the river is and everything, it's pretty bad there too. I mean, anywhere where there's permafrost, oh wait, so that's a lot of the state. Or there's lakes, oh wait, that's a lot of the state. Or the muskeg, which is I think that's what it's called, the peat mossy material, whatever. Like even there, it's bad. It's just Alaska and mosquitoes go hand in hand, and it's not bad everywhere, but where it's bad, it's really, really bad. And that's it. That's what I've learned since living here. I hope you found this helpful. I do have, and if you made it this far, thanks for watching this far. I have, back when I moved up here in February, Riley and he took the trip with me. We filmed the whole entire thing, or at least a lot of it. And I think once we got towards like Alaska, I was ready to be here, and didn't film as much. But anyway, for most of that drive all the way from Phoenix up to Fairbanks, I filmed it, and I want to share that video, create it and share it, and it's just going to be a long process. So I decided to post this instead because it was quicker to edit and then work through that. And it'll probably be posted in several different chapters, so it's not like a 2 hour long video. It'll be short snippets of different parts of the drive. And yeah, as I share that, I'll definitely link that below if you're curious about that drive and what it will look like in winter too, because we did that in February. Yeah, left Tucson or Phoenix area like February 1st or 2nd, and then made it up here by like the 17th or the 15th, or no, I think it was the 17th. Yeah, maybe we left on the 4th. I don't know, whatever. It was like early to mid-February. Yeah, super fun. Well, thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this helpful. And if you have any questions about Fairbanks or even Alaska as a whole, I've seen quite a bit of it for only being here for 8 months. I'll try to help you in whatever way I can. Obviously, I haven't been to the super remote places, but if you could get there by car, I've been to a lot of it. Okay, bye. My cat is just purring away. She is so cute.